It's time to play Pokemon Yellow with the official starter. During my Magnemite playthrough last week, I realized that this game sort of hates electric types, so I expect this to be a challenge. As a kid playing this game, I couldn't read, so I was just convinced to box my Pikachu right away because it's awful against Brock's ground types. I thought it was useless. I do have to admit that its little sad cry when depositing in the box shook me to my sensitive core. I kept it on my team just so it was happy, but I never intentionally used it. Today, I'll keep track of how many times the game does something cruel to Pikachu and walls it. Believe me, it really seems like Game Freak just really wanted to convince all of us to not use Pikachu on our teams. This game is not very kind to it. Here are the rules. I have left them in the description as well so you can reference them later. You'll notice today that my yellow ROM has Scott as a default trainer name. Shout out to Greg Hart for his awesome programming skills. While playing, I totally forgot about his work though, and I just named myself the regular way. Habits are hard to break. Luckily, I clued into it and used the default but option to name my rival. Let's be fair, this is how the ROM should have been programmed by Game Freak. All the options should honestly just be insults. Oak bumps into Pikachu in the grass, reminding me how strange it was this week not to use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer. This is the first time on my channel, actually. By the way, if you want to play your own Pokemon challenges, I've linked that program in the description. I nicknamed Pikachu Pinky as a reference to the cartoon Pinky and the Brain, and I guess that makes me the brain, so together we're gonna take over the world. Maybe not quite yet though, because the fight against the rival in the lab is next. And this one always got me as a kid. With Eevee's high base special and Pikachu's lower special, Thundershock only does around 1/4 damage. Then Pikachu's low defense becomes a big liability. It has such bad defense. Eevee's Tail Whip, followed by a same type attack bonus Tackle, leaves Pikachu with only 9 hit points. My next Thundershock paralyzes Eevee and it misses a Tail Whip. Okay, so that's good. I get to attack for a 4th time, but Eevee survives, uses Tackle, and knocks Pikachu out. Okay, that's a great start. While I was preparing for this challenge, I compared Raichu and Pikachu's stats. So the number one reason that Pikachu is held back by the developers is that evolving actually brings it a massive stat increase, especially in its special stat, 40 extra base special as a Raichu. So Game Freak gives you a starter that gets a huge bonus in its most important stat through evolution, and then codes the game and prevents it from evolving. Just great. Because I lost the lab fight, the rival will pick Vaporeon as his final evolution. After all, he wants to go easy on me. Let's review Pikachu's learn set. Tail Whip, Thunder Wave, Quick Attack, Double Team, and Slam. Those are decent moves to learn by level 20. With them, I'm gonna have to find a way to defeat Brock. The only damage dealing moves that I have access to that hit ground types are Quick Attack and Slam. Training until level 20 initially seems like the only way to defeat him, but there is another way. I usually ban Double Team in most challenges, but I allow it on Pokemon that learn it through level up. Today it's really gonna help against Brock, so I don't need to spend time leveling up to level 20. After he's out of the way, I'll forget it so that the challenge becomes more interesting. I wonder if Game Freak actually thought that players would utilize Double Team against Brock. I couldn't read when I first played these games, so I just thought that status moves did nothing at all. I just tried to use Quick Attack against Brock. It obviously didn't work, and the only way I defeated him was with Butterfree. In doing so, the little Butterfly became my favorite Pokemon. Overcoming a hard in-game opponent with a Pokemon really creates a bond that lasts forever. It's really too bad that in Pokemon Yellow, Pikachu didn't have that opportunity. Also working against the Electric Mouse is the fact that it's part of the medium-fast experience group, so I expect the training here to be slow, but it isn't nearly as bad as Magnemite was last week. The big difference here is that Pikachu has more PP, a stab move that's strong against Pidgey, and it just hits harder because of its stats. I finished my training 5 levels lower than with Magnemite, and I'm at a much faster in-game time. Now I'm ready for Brock, and he's going to be the game's second major challenge for Pikachu. He opens with Geodude. At least they made his Pokemon lower levels in Yellow. This removes Geodude's defense curl. Time for 6 Double Teams. I want to minimize damage taken. Pikachu will have to tank the occasional stray hit though, and Onix is going to be a grind, so I need some staying power. Geodude hit Pikachu on the first 2 turns and then missed 4 times in a row. With my setup complete, I thought the Tail Whip might speed things up, but it actually gives Geodude time to hit me with 2 tackles, taking me down to just over half health. Time for Quick Attack. My first one gets a critical hit, and that lets me knock the Geodude out over 5 hits. Unfortunately, along the way, Pikachu was hit by 1 more tackle, leaving it only with 17 hit points remaining for Onix. Maybe this strategy isn't good enough? I'm honestly kind of worried. I do have a nice advantage against the Onix though. That's that it knows Bide. If it uses it, it's stuck for 2 or 3 turns, and that lets me use Tail Whip. I actually get a total of 4 off before I start attacking. After using my 3rd Quick Attack, Screech connects with me. Oh no, Pikachu's already frail and beat up, and then one turn later Onix uses Bind and gets a critical hit. In Generation 1, each successive hit does the same amount of damage as the initial critical hit. Additionally, it continues each turn skipping the accuracy check, so Double Team doesn't help me here. 4 hits? 5 hits? Pikachu survives a 5-turn bind with 2 hit points. I strike back with Quick Attack and knock Onix out with a critical hit. That was so incredibly close. If you decide to try this challenge yourself, I'd recommend leveling up 1 or 2 more times just to add a little bit of consistency to this fight. On my way out of Pewter City, I buy some Pokeballs. I'm really hoping that a Spearow shows up today. Nope, no Spearow for me again. I was sure that I'd get footage of this happening soon, but it just really isn't happening. Thanks, game. Mount Moon is next. I grab the HP up, the Rare Candy, and the TM for Mega Punch. This is a nice boost for Pikachu's offense. I teach it in the place of Double Team, because I don't want any more dirty tactics today. And with that, it's time to punch everything with Pikachu's small yellow fists. The Super Nerd fight doesn't go well. I'm going too fast and I use Thundershock on the Voltorb by accident. Whoops. The following coughing takes me all the way down to orange health as a result. After the fight, Pikachu has a cute little movement path where it runs out of the way of the nerd. I love it. In Cerulean City, I have to make a choice. Misty or Nugget Bridge first. Usually I do Nugget Bridge, but today I decided to zap Misty first with my type advantage. She opens with Staryu. I use Thundershock for over half, and Misty uses Water Gun, which deals 1/5 to me. Water is neutral against electric, so her good AI doesn't prevent her from using these powerful moves today. I knock Staryu out, learn Slam after leveling up, and move on to Starmie. It starts with Harden, which is useless against Thundershock. I do 1/3 damage, and Starmie tackles me for 1/3 damage in return because of a critical hit. Brutal. It uses Harden again, giving me another free hit, but outspeeds the next turn with Water Gun, knocking Pikachu out with another critical hit. Starmie's 22.5% chance to crit got me. However, without those 2 big hits, I would have done it. I'm going to try one more time before I move to Nugget Bridge. It's probably not likely that Starmie's going to knock me out again. I'm just really worried that it might get a crit on Bubble Beam, but that's not very likely to happen because all of her moves are neutrally effective, so she's just randomly selecting some. Pikachu crits with decent regularity as well, and it helps against Starmie this time. Only 3 hits required. So I've defeated her now, but I did incur 1 reset. If I had done Nugget Bridge first, I would have leveled up more, and that would have made this more consistent. The rival's next. He opens with Spearow. Time for some zapping. The bird fails its growl, and then I knock it out. Sandshrew time, and this thing is truly a demon today. This singular Pokemon accounts for a surprising number of barriers in Pikachu's way. This fight is the 3rd time the developers threw something at Pikachu that it just struggles to manage. My accuracy is lowered twice by Sand Attack. I was lucky to land both of my Mega Punches there. Then the rat with the name that I can't pronounce is next. I miss Thundershock, it lowers my defense, uses Quick Attack for a 1/4 damage, and I miss again. Oh no. I connect next turn, it tackles Pikachu to half, and Thundershock connects, knocking it out. I'm not confident for the Eevee though. I used Thundershock, I wanted to use a physical move against it, but Mega Punch already has terrible accuracy. If it isn't 100% accurate, it's 50% accurate. If the AI uses 1 Sand Attack, then you have 1% accuracy. So I just decided to go for Thundershock. I decide that if I'm going to miss anyways though, I should probably try for maximum damage at this point, so I start using Mega Punch instead. I get a critical hit, but Eevee survives. Okay, Quick Attack time. I miss, Eevee lowers my defenses again. I'm 3 stages lower now, and then my Quick Attack connects, ending the battle. I did it, but that was tense. Adding a few more levels before Brock would have also smoothed this fight out, especially if I wanted to do Nugget Bridge before Misty to add consistency to her fight as well. So, now here are some of my Scott's thoughts about how Pikachu is doing after the first 2 gyms. It's very fragile. Even when I've prepared with a strategy, like the strategy I had for Brock, it's just so close and stressful, especially because of statistics like critical hits, sand attacks, or double teams. On Nugget Bridge, I'm starting to regret unlearning double team so soon. This Hiker's Geodude is really annoying to fight without it. This is the 4th barrier for Pikachu. Of the 3 Hikers on this route, you have to battle at least one. The other guy has an Onix, so I don't want to fight him today. Plus, after this fight, you get access to the hidden elixir. I was scared that Mega Punch would miss too many times here, and Defense Curl would buy enough time for Geodude to wear me down. However, I managed to win. And then I proceed immediately to forget about the danger of future rock types. Believe me, that's going to be really relevant soon. At Bill's house, this incredibly cute animation plays. I love it. It's time to head to Vermilion. On the way though, I have a tough fight against this rocket. This fight always caused me problems as a kid. Drowsy puts me to sleep, and then its pound does decent damage because Pikachu has trash defenses. After being put to sleep, I stay asleep for 5 turns. Finally, once I wake up, I finish the battle off with 2 Thunder Shocks and I'm moving on. But that really could have gone a lot worse. No flyers show up again between Cerulean and Vermilion. I guess I'll just have to catch my flyer outside of Celadon like usual. Inside of the Pokefan Club, there's actually another cute Pikachu animation. It looks like Pikachu's really interested in Clefairy. This reminds me of how I acted when I first saw my girlfriend. I've mentioned previously how I think it's strange that the game developers decided to remove Surge's good AI in Pokemon Yellow. I think I understand why this was done now. If he has good AI, he would only use normal moves with Raichu, making him choose Mega Punch and Mega Kick more frequently against Pikachu. With low defense and low HP, those moves hit so hard. So removing good AI nerfs him, allowing him to use Thunderbolt against Pikachu as well. So this is the second example, the first one of course being Brock's levels being lower, where the developers actually made things easier for Pikachu. I guess it's really nice that they did this in a couple spots. I learned Thunderbolt while leveling up before the third rival fight. I'm a bit worried for this one because of the Sandshrew and the Eevee, the 5th barrier that Game Freak put in Pikachu's way. Rattata gets a quick attack off for 7 damage and then faints to my Bolt. Sandshrews next. I use Body Slam, paralyze it fails to move, and then I knock it out. Okay, so that was really good luck. I'm moving on to the Eevee in a really good position, but it knows Sand Attack too, so everything still could fall apart. But it fails, and then Thunderbolt knocks it out. Recently I've started to feel the symptoms of burnout, so I've started working with a video editor. His name's Sean, by the way. He was hanging out with me while I played this challenge, and at the trash can puzzle, I asked if he thought that I could get a 3rd week of incredible luck, and he told me no. He told me that it's time for me to be punished. And today he was right. It took a long time to finish this puzzle. Surge opens with Raichu. This is sort of like Pinky vs. the Brain. Proving my earlier point, Surge chooses Thunderbolt, dealing 1/3 damage. Even a not very effective move still did decent damage. Mega Kick would have been so much worse. My Body Slam does 1/3 damage, and then I move first. So I guess we're speed tied? Body Slam connects and paralyzes. Yes, this is just what I needed. However, Raichu still moves and uses Mega Kick, knocking Pikachu out with a critical hit. Surge is mostly luck in yellow though, that's just because he only has 1 Pokemon, so I'll be able to defeat him at this level. In the next fight, he uses Mega Kick first turn, but it misses. Second turn and third turn, he uses Growl, which actually makes a lot of sense against Pikachu. I'm using physical attacks after all. When Raichu's at red health, I decide to use Quick Attack to ensure that I move first, but I'm overlooking the previous attack decreases here, so I don't KO it, allowing it to land a Mega Kick. I survive with 1/4 health and finish the mouse off on the second turn. Receiving the TM for Thunderbolt from Surge gives me flexibility for the rest of my playthrough. I can now remove it from my moveset and then learn it again if I need to later on. You might think, but why would you ever remove Pikachu's Thunderbolt? Believe me, this is relevant. I promise to explain later. The Rapping Lass is next, and she's annoying because she doesn't have very many good rhymes. No, she's annoying because after Pikachu's paralyzed, I'm not outspeeding the Bellsprout. This always happens. It just traps you and then never stops. But luckily today I don't lose here. Immediately inside Rock Tunnel, I have to face the Pokemaniac with a Cubone. Here's another challenge the game throws at Pikachu. Losing to a random trainer in a solo playthrough is never a good sign. This hurts a lot. On the second fight, I have a terrifying realization. The hiker with his self-destructing team is waiting for me, and I'm woefully unprepared. Keeping double team just for this fight would have been very wise. It's not going to go very well with my current moveset, but hey, there's a silver lining here. At this time I hadn't even beaten Brock yet with Magnemite. I'm just hanging on to that thought though while all the Geodudes pummel me with self-destruct. Even with insane luck on the second fight, I'm not able to defeat him. Fights 3 and 4 are worse, and now the descent into hopelessness is complete. I need a new approach. Lucky for me, Pikachu learns Seismic Toss. I've got to backtrack to obtain it though because I didn't prioritize obtaining it when I was on Nugget Bridge for the first time. That's because I didn't want to fight this hiker that's sitting in front of it. I fought the trainer blocking the opening instead, sealing Seismic Toss away until after obtaining Cut. With Seismic Toss, I can now 2-hit the Geodudes and take the first 2 out, avoiding self-destruct entirely. Maybe the Graveler will 1-hit me, but it uses Tackle instead, and it's also in 2-hit range. So I'm proceeding past him. Also, thanks Sean for making this little note while I was playing. It's great to be working with you. In Celadon City, I grabbed the TM for Reflect. I'll likely need this for Giovanni. I grabbed 2 Pokédolls because Mimic will be required as well. After that, I catch Doduo. It's marginally better than the Spearow that appear here because it doesn't know 4 moves, and that allows it to learn Fly with less time spent on text. Up next, I obtain the best item, the PP Up. I get 2 of them here, so I'm very excited. After that, I explore the Rocket Hideout, which I usually skip to obtain an additional rare candy. With an electric type in yellow, I believe that it's key to obtain all the rare candies, unless you want to grind endlessly before Giovanni, that is. The tower arrival's easy. Typical. After he's out of the way, I decide to skip training in Pokemon Tower entirely. I probably should have just done it here though, because the game is really hard. I learn agility in the place of quick attack. It's Pikachu's only access to the badge boost glitch, other than double team. I'm not sure that it's going to help against some of the threats that are coming up, so I'll keep it around just in case. I've arrived at Sylph, and to my surprise, Pikachu's actually fairly underleveled, so let the grind begin. And then against the first Rocket, I have an awful time. Arbok hits a massive critical hit with Bite and paralyzes me with Glare. That's scary because I haven't saved since the rival in Pokemon Tower. I really don't want to reset. Poison Sting connects and Pikachu's paralyzed. Arbok connects again, taking me down to 14 hit points, but my Thunderbolt zaps the snake and I'm safe. Of the rockets in here, I want to skip the ones that have Cubone. Everything else is good experience though. And then Eradicate gets a massive Hyper Fang. Ouch! My poor adrenal system was like seriously shot while filming this playthrough. Frail Pokemon are just so stressful to use. Plus, it feels so bad on the ego to be struggling against the rockets in here. They're supposed to be easy to defeat. The sixth obstacle for Pikachu is the Sylph rival who starts with Sandslash. It knows Slash, but that makes sense. And it's a high critical hit move that is really devastating. I'll head over to the dojo first and train for additional levels. I want to make sure that I can knock the Sandslash out. In here, a Primeape gets a big critical hit on Pikachu, and then I get more stress hormones. I heal up and come back to finish the dojo off. I use Thunderbolt against the Hitmonlee, but it survives and uses Double Kick, which crits. More stress. Oh my. But Pikachu survives the second hit with 4 hit points. I still have to defeat the Hitmonchan though, so I guess I need to one-hit it, but I don't. And then Hitmonchan uses Agility. Okay, thank you AI, I really appreciate that. Erika time. I put her off this long because electric moves are resisted by grass types. Now she fits in really well because I want more levels before attempting the rival in Sylph. Her Tangle is a defensive beast, but Body Slam does the job over 2 turns because of a critical hit. Weepin' Bell's next. Body Slam fails to KO it, and then Pikachu falls asleep. Okay, please wake up. But Pikachu doesn't. 4 turns asleep, and Razor Leaf finishes me off. Okay, so I'm just gonna level up more before Erika as well. I don't want to have another reset there. So I guess the Grass Gym Leader is the 7th barrier for Pikachu. I really didn't expect that. To train for her, I decide to fight the Cool Trainer right next to her. Safe choice, right? I should be able to knock out these low-level grass types with ease. Right? Right? So Weepin' Bell paralyzes Pikachu first turn, and then spams Wrap. This is a problem. It outspeeds me, and I'm locked in Wrap, not being able to attack. I didn't attack for the remainder of the fight. Cool Trainers actually have an AI modification that prioritizes status moves on the first turn. So after the paralysis on turn 1, Weepin' Bell was actually only ever going to use Wrap after that because that's his only damage dealing move. So that feels really bad. I guess I'm going to go train somewhere else. I head back to Sylph and finish off a few more rockets in here. I'm going to keep going after that, so I train between Lavender Town and Saffron. I actually really rarely fight the trainers here, but there's lots of water types and flying types, so it's pretty efficient for Pikachu. It's time for the rival, and Sandslash is his lead. To fight it, I actually consulted a damage calculator, and Seismic Toss is going to do more damage here than Body Slam. It's 3 hit range. My accuracy is lowered with Sand Attack. I miss Seismic Toss, my accuracy is lowered again. I connect with Seismic Toss, and for a 3rd time my accuracy is lowered. I miss, Sandslash slashes, fitting, and it does so much damage. I defy all accuracy logic and connect again with Seismic Toss, so I defeated the first Pokemon, but I don't stand a chance now that my Pikachu has so much dirt in its poor little eyes. It misses 6 times against Magneton and then faints. Let's try one more time. This time Sandslash uses Swift first turn and Sand Attack second turn, so I proceed with only 1 stage lower accuracy. I think this should be what I need, but then I miss turn 1 and turn 2 against Magneton. After that, I get lucky and I get a hit and then a crit. Ninetales sets up with 2 Tail Whips and then faints. Kadabra follows. I miss, tank a Psybeam, and then take it out. Vaporeon's last. This one should be easy. I use Thunderbolt and... What? It survives? Vaporeon uses Sand Attack, but my second Thunderbolt still connects and knocks it out. So, yeah. Giovanni's next, and I have to talk about him. So here's the basic summary of how the first 3 Pokemon go. Nidorino deals damage, Persian deals damage, and Rhyhorn deals damage, because I can't knock them out quickly. That leaves only orange health remaining for the Nidoqueen. And that's probably not going to be enough. And it's not, so yeah, my ego's crushed. I actually lost to Giovanni and Sylph. I try again, and in the second fight, I fail again. So, like, my ego's been crushed so much, I'm like close to reaching like spiritual enlightenment or something at this point. So this is clearly the 8th spot that causes some difficulty for Pikachu. It's training time. Sean and I consulted Madrybread's Pikachu video while I was doing this, and I was playing and he was looking at the video and I asked like, what level did he finish the game at? And Sean responded, I don't think you want to know. So, okay, I guess I have to beat every trainer available. With this information, I can strategically save my rare candies to be used at the highest possible level, and in so doing minimize training. I backtrack through much of the game, finishing many of the trainers that I skipped earlier. At level 55, I attempt Erika again. I get a crit versus Tangela, one hit the Weepinbell, and Gloom is next. It survives my first hit, but doesn't put up a fight. She's finished. It's time for Koga. I use Thunderbolt against the Venonats, they're all one-hits. Venomoth is last. It takes 1/3 damage from Thunderbolt, chooses Leech Life, and then gets an X attack next turn. I'm done here. It's back to Giovanni. Thunderbolt now knocks out Nidorino in a single hit. Persian's the same story. I toss the Rhino, get stomped on, and knock it out on the next turn. Nidoqueen's next. I have significantly more health this time though. I'm optimistic. Guard Spec, first turn. Okay, thanks Giovanni. And then followed by Scratch. Excellent AI, thanks again. I perform extremely poorly in the skill testing questions in Blaine's gym just so that I can level up. I do love that one of the questions in here is about the matchup between electric and ground types. It's like preparing you for the Giovanni fight which is coming up next. However, if you don't know this at this point in the game when you're playing Pokemon Yellow with Pikachu, you're like missing something because these ground types feel like they're everywhere, making the game a living nightmare. Luckily, until this point of the game though, it's mostly been a defensive advantage for them because they haven't had very many ground type moves, but that's about to change very soon. Okay, Blaine's next. So the removal of his good AI doesn't really change the outcome of this fight for Pikachu in any meaningful way that I can see. Today this fight's a breeze. Arcanine just really wanted to use Reflect, and with that I'm on to Sabrina's gym. In here I fight all the trainers with the Slowpoke and Slowbro. After finishing my Slowpoke video, I realized that its name is literally a shortening of Slow Pokemon. Took me like a quarter century to realize that, but at least I got there. That's what counts. Sabrina opens with Abra. I use Body Slam against it and it faints in a single hit. No flashes today. Kadabra's next. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Body Slam connects and it faints as well. I've just got to defeat the Alakazam. It comes out, I use Body Slam, it survives and uses Psychic. Oh no, oh no, oh no! It gets a critical hit and Pikachu fades. It has a 25% chance to crit and it only has a 1 in 4 shot of using Psychic. This time it doesn't get lucky and I knock it out. Now it's time for barrier number 9, which is the worst one yet. This is the complete wall. Giovanni. In a regular playthrough, you should have a diverse team by this point and be able to have a Pokemon that matches up well against his ground and poison types. But when I was a kid, I only had my trusty Butterfree on my side. Rhydon's Rock Slide was really not kind to me, and that burnt this fight into my mind as one of the most challenging in the game. And with an electric type, this is especially true. I teach Pikachu Mimic in the place of Agility because stealing Earthquake is likely my best offensive choice that I have access to against his team. At level 61, I attempt for the first time. I use Mimic to learn Dugtrio's Earthquake, it uses Fissure which fails, and then I knock it out. Persian's next. It sets up Double Team, causing my Thunderbolt to miss. Not just once, or twice, but 3 times in a row. On the 4th turn, I get my second hit in and the cat faints. Nidoqueen time. Earthquake takes it to 1/3 health. Okay, it's gonna one-hit me. But Giovanni uses a Guard Spec. Okay, that's nice. I knock it out and Nidoking's next. It survives Earthquake and then crits with its own, knocking Pikachu out. I try again because maybe I'll survive Nidoking's hit if it doesn't get a crit, but this time Dugtrio survives my hit, teaching me that it's in a range that it can survive Earthquake. That's really not good. Persian uses Screech against me, which triggers the Badge Boost glitch, raising all my stats and lowering my defense. I make it back to the Nidoking, it survives my Earthquake, uses its own, and I faint again. 100% health, and I don't survive non-crit Earthquakes. So I want to save my rare candies so that I have something to manage the champion's Sandslash later on, so that means that the only choice now is to grind. While I'm doing this, I'll talk a little bit about my choice to play Pokemon Yellow in all of my challenges. I chose to play it mostly because of the nostalgia that I have for it. I started playing with this game when I was 7 years old. It was my first Pokemon game. It's 22 years later, and after all of that time, I've actually just never played through the entire game with the intended starter. That's the exact opposite of my first playthroughs with basically every other Pokemon game. In Blue I used Venusaur exclusively, in Silver I used Feraligatr exclusively, in Ruby I used Sceptile, in X I actually just used mostly Blastoise, and this guy, he's not my favorite though. Mostly the starters are great Pokemon for sweeping through the game if they're just slightly overleveled. However, Pikachu has so much working against it in Yellow. This video is proving that. And quite honestly, every time I've played Yellow, I just try to ditch the little electric mouse as quickly as I can and get Butterfree. I wonder that if Pikachu had had less barriers, even just removing Brock for instance, perhaps it might have been my favorite Pokemon today. Availability of Pokemon in combination with battle prowess allows for deep and lasting connections to form. But without those elements, certain creatures are just pushed to the side and potentially forgotten. Pikachu, after all, is the series mascot though, because it's Ash's partner Pokemon, so it never had the risk of being forgotten like this. But other great Pokemon did suffer this fate. At level 70, I'm ready to face Giovanni again. Dugtrio uses Fissure first turn, and that lets me move past it without any issues. I can now one-hit the Persian, adding consistency. Nidoqueen survives Earthquake with a sliver of health because it's slightly more defensive than Nidoking. It, on the other hand, gets one hit. Rhydon's last. I use Earthquake and hope that it's going to be in 2-hit range. Please. But I get a critical hit and knock it out. Yes! With that luck, I'm moving on to the late game. The final rival's next, and it's nice that this isn't actually a problem area for Pikachu. The leading Sandslash doesn't know Earthquake yet, but it will very soon. The rest of his team isn't great against me. The Vaporeon does survive my Thunderbolt again. Its special is really good, and it uses Hydro Pump, but I survive and knock it out. Here are my stats and moveset before the league. I've arrived here after 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 44 seconds of real time. Better than Magnemite, but still a slow time for Generation 1. Can Pikachu and I do it, or will we be stopped by the wall that is the league? Let's find out. Lorelei is a great way to start the league because she's incredibly easy. Stab super effective Thunderbolts are enough to one-shot her first 3 Pokemon. I crit the Jinx, and it goes down in a 1-hit as well. The Lapras survives, but Hydro Pump doesn't do enough damage to make me worried, so it's Bruno time. Another day of treating this man with respect, but there's been too much of that recently. I really need to do a run with a Psychic type soon so that I can just put him in his place. Today I used the strategy that I used with Magnemite. Mimic Dig, use it against both of the Rock Snakes while using Thunderbolt to take care of the fighting types. I arrive at Machamp with full health. Thunderbolt doesn't knock it out, and it uses Karate Chop, getting a critical hit. But even with that, it only does around 40% damage. Agatha's next. Spamming Thunderbolt is my best bet. I knock out the first Gengar in 2 hits. 1-hit Golbat, Haunter survives and confuses me, but I take it down the next turn. Arbok is next. I hit myself in confusion and it uses Acid. Ah! I snap out of confusion, and with that I'm able to defeat her. This fight was easy, but all the status conditions can really mess things up. I'm interested to test it and see if I can manage to defeat her on multiple attempts. For now, I'm moving on after the first one. Lance is a flying type master, and today I have an electric type. So this is how this goes. Thunderbolt for Gyarados, Body Slam for the first Dragonair, Mimic Ice Beam at the second one, Thunderbolt for the Aerodactyl, and Ice Beam to finish the Dragonite off. Yep, easy. Now it's champion time. The 10th and final barrier for Pikachu to overcome. And this is going to be the hardest fight in the entire game. He leads with Sandslash, and I call it the Sand Attacking Demon on Nugget Bridge because it's annoying with sand attacks. But in this case, it's going to be awful because it knows Earthquake. I survive 1 hit from Earthquake, but I'm not doing nearly enough damage. So it's Rare Candy time. At level 82, I'm doing more damage with Seismic Toss, but still not quite half. I didn't use all my Rare Candies, so I'll use the ones that remain and try again. Additionally, I choose to learn Reflect in the place of Mimic. Reducing damage from Earthquake may be another way to defeat the Sandslash in case that I don't 2-hit it. I use Reflect first turn, Earthquake's more manageable now, I start using Seismic Toss and it does half damage. Yes, but next turn it survives with a sliver of health and knocks me out. I accidentally went into the next fight without Reflect, yeah, nice play. Excellent job. 5th attempt. Sandslash finishes Pikachu off with a critical hit, and then it happens again. I started to feel a bit hopeless here, and then it came to me. Seismic Toss might deal more damage than Body Slam, but it doesn't have the chance to paralyze. This status condition can give Pikachu some additional luck to counter out the likelihood of Sandslash's critical hits. On attempt number 8, I use Body Slam and knock the Sandslash out, but I've only got 5 hit points remaining for the Alakazam. I get a critical hit and it faints. but Executor is going to slow things down and it stomps me into oblivion. Rest is the solution that can solve this problem. Attempt number 10. I've got this. Reflect first turn, Body Slam second turn. It paralyzes, Sandslash fails to attack, and as a result, the next 2 turns allow me to proceed to the Alakazam with 65% health remaining. I knock it out without a critical hit, and it's time for Executor. Body Slam gets a crit, paralyzes it, and all I need is 1 more hit. Ninetales deals a small amount of damage with Quick Attack, and then faints over 2 turns. Magneton is last. Body Slam paralyzes again. This luck is so good. I knock it out, and Vaporeon's all that's left. I use Thunderbolt, get a critical hit, and it faints. With Pikachu, I get a time of 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 38 seconds. Now, I normally test for consistency in the late game, starting at Lorelei, but with Pikachu, I'm going to go a little bit further back. Giovanni deserves a test. After all, I won during my playthrough only because of a lucky critical hit against Rhydon. I attempted to recreate this win to see if it was likely, but I lost 3 times and then I decided that there's probably a better way. My first solution is to add Reflect to minimize damage and Rest to heal. I forgot Thunderbolt to do this, and I can just relearn it with the TM that Surge gave me after the fight's done. I told you that this was going to be important. Even with Reflect and Rest, it isn't enough. I'm going to need a few more levels to get the ranges that I need against the Nidos and the Rhydon. At level 75, I find a strategy that works better. Here's how you do it. Mimic Earthquake first turn. This way, on the second turn, you can set up Reflect in case the Dugtrio goes underground with Dig. In Generation 1, Earthquake doesn't actually hit Pokemon that are underground, so this ordering minimizes damage taken on the second turn. The better way actually to do it here is just knock the Dugtrio out on the second turn, and I figured this out on my 4th fight. Then after that you can set up Reflect on the Persian. Once it's out of the way, at level 75, Earthquake's all I need to sweep through the Nidos and arrive at the Rhydon. It could mess me up if it got a critical hit, but that isn't really likely because of its low speed. So I won 5 times here. Along the way though, I did lose because of some of the most ridiculous luck. Check this out. Gen 1 miss with Mimic, followed by a crit from Earthquake that knocks Pikachu out. Just great. For the League, my moveset's going to be a little bit different from before. I don't need Seismic Toss. Rest is just better. Also, I'm starting the League at level 75 because that's the level I need to defeat Giovanni. When I play these consistent League tests, I do it in a way that it should be replicable in a regular playthrough. So if I need this level for consistency against Giovanni, then I've got to start the League at this level. I test Bruno first because of his Onix. Just Mimic Dig first turn, and if it goes underground, you can dodge its first hit. Other than that, there isn't much to say about this fight. If he had good AI, this might be a different story because he'd prioritize Dig and Earthquake, but I still think that it would be pretty easy in those cases, because you can just outspeed with Dig. Along the way, I had one of my typical Fumble Fingers moments and used Thunderbolt against Onix. It's like, whoops. But I still won that fight, so this one's really easy. Agatha's status conditions are a problem though. On my first fight I win because she just missed so much. On the second fight, I get put to sleep, wrapped, confused, and paralyzed, and I still end up winning. So I thought that maybe stealing Haunter's Hypnosis could add consistency against the final Gengar, but in retrospect, Hypnosis isn't the most accurate move. It's probably just best to spam Thunderbolt throughout this fight. I win 5 times, and now I'm moving on to Lance. I'm not going to test against him though, because he's really easy. Just realize though that whenever your strategy relies on stealing Ice Beam with Mimic, there is a chance that Dragonair will use Ice Beam itself on the first turn and freeze you. However, in Pikachu's case, all the Dragon's moves are neutrally effective, so there's only a 1 in 4 chance of Ice Beam being selected. And then if it selects Ice Beam, there's only a 10% chance for it to freeze. Those are odds that I'm more than happy with. The champion's the main problem that I need to solve. It is possible at level 85, but it isn't consistent for me. At level 90, I'm clearly on a bad RNG spot because Sandslash crits a few times in a row. But without the crits, Pikachu takes slightly less damage and 3 Body Slams knock the Sandslash out. I just need to avoid a crit, and I've done it. After the ground type's taken care of, the rest of his team is just really simple to manage. So it's time for some metrics. In my playthrough, I spent 2 hours, 20 times, and 38 seconds of real-time playing to beat the game. I finished at level 85 with 25 resets, and a game time of 8 hours and 12 minutes. So the series mascot might be faster than Magnemite, but it's far from a good choice for a solo playthrough of Pokemon Yellow. But we still love you, Pikachu. You're an adorable yellow mouse after all. Like, subscribe, bring the Chimecho, and make it happy. Also, leave a comment because I gotta read them all. This video is brought to you by the generous support of my patrons. Thanks for your support, it's really making my dreams become a reality. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. And now, it's bloopers time. Because I lost the lab fight, the rival's gonna pick Vaporeon as his final EV. I'm getting worse and worse. Okay, I can do this. Because I lost the lab fight, the rival will pick Vaporeon. I can't say Vaporeon. My first one gets a critical hit, and that lets me knock the Geodude out over on... So bad. So bad. My first one gets a critical hit, and that lets me knock the Geodude out over on... Geodude. I feel like I say it weird every time. The rival's next. He opens with Spearow. Time for some zapping. The bird... The bird. No, it's the bird. Come on. Gotta get my... I'm like I sound really weird today, and then I realized I don't have my headphones on. Now it sounds better. It sounds like I'm actually recording. Okay, here we go. It's time to head for... Can't say this line. It's time to head to Vermilion. Vermilion. That's kind of like Vermilion. If only there was a PP up in Vermilion. It's time to head to Vermilion. On the way, though, I have to... Come on! Okay, here we go. On the way, though, I have a tough fight against this rocket. This fight... Every sentence in this paragraph is hard. Receiving the Thunderbolt TM from Surge gives me flexibility for the rest of my playthrough. I can remove Thunderbolt. Oh. Okay, well, there was some momentum there, and now it's all gone. Immediately incised rock tunnel. Immediately incised. Come on. Again, inside. Immediately incised. Failing. Okay. Lucky for me, Pikachu lures. Oh dear. I swear, like today in my brain, I'm just like reading a word and then it just like, my brain just breaks. I just can't complete the word. I do love that one of these questions in here is about electric. I do love the. Oh, and then a burp. That was like, just worst. Burp again. Nidoqueen's next. No, Nidoking. Nido. It's Nido. I'm saying Nido again. No. I gotta go back. Lapras survives, but Thunder Pump. I was gonna say Thunder Pump. No, that doesn't sound good.